Hello and welcome to this Pipedrive training video. My name's Dan, and in this video I'm going to be talking through Pipedrive CRM at a pretty high, pretty broad level with enough detail that at the end of the video you should have a really good understanding of the key features and functions of this CRM, but most importantly how to set it up and how to use it for your business. I work with organisations right across the world, helping them implement this really powerful tool in a way that's simple, that's intuitive, but most importantly is effective for their particular use case. So I hope you take value from this video, and with that, let's kick off. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is register an account. So to do that, go to pipedrive.com and select try for free. From here, you can input your work email and Pipedrive will send a link to register a free account. I do have a partner link as well, which I'll drop in the video description. That extends the length of the free trial, so feel free to use that if you wish. So when we first log into Pipedrive, this is the first screen that we'll be presented with. And this is the default sales pipeline. So what is a sales pipeline? Well, it's the stages that a sales opportunity must go through, from initial inquiry right way through to contracts or negotiation through to winning the deals. It's effectively a Kanban board working from left to right, where once you've populated deals, you can drag the deals through the stages. Now, Pipedrive gives us these default stages out of the box, which may be similar to your sales process, but every organization's business is unique, and so your sales process will likely differ from this slightly, or perhaps a lot. So you'll probably want to edit the stages in the sales pipeline here. So we can do that by clicking the pencil icon, and we can rename or we can add new stages. So let's say we had a stage or a step that we have to go through with all our prospects, which is perhaps we need to send the contract. We need to make that explicit. So let's say contract sent, and we're going to move that before the negotiation started. And if I save that, you can see now that within the sales process or the pipeline view, we have the original stages, but we now have a stage here for contract sent. Now, there's more that we can do here. So if we go back to the edit, you can see that Pipedrive sets a default probability of 100% for every stage in the sales process. Now, it'd be great to think that we're going to win every sales opportunity that comes our way, but unfortunately, the reality is we're going to have drop off between stages. So we might want to update these if we have an idea of our conversion rates. So let's say when we make contact with a prospect, we actually have a 25% chance of winning that deal at that stage. Once they're qualified, perhaps it moves up to 35%. Needs defined, perhaps that goes to 40%. When we send a proposal, perhaps we're winning 55% of those opportunities. And when we get to sending a contract, we might be up to 75%, and negotiating, we might be 85%. So we can save that, and those figures are going to feed into predicted revenue outcomes within Pipedrive. So it's really important to put in the estimated conversion rate that you have for that particular stage. Now, if you're brand new to CRM or to sales, you might not know your conversion rates. That's okay. Just put in your best guess at this stage, and Pipedrive will actually proactively work out and report on your real-time conversion reports, and we'll be able to report on that in Insights. We'll cover that later. We also have an option here to set a rotting. Now, this is a very technical Pipedrive term, that if a deal has been sat in a particular stage for a certain amount of time without any activity, so in this case 5 days, the deal view will become red on the sales pipeline. And that can just be a really useful indicator to the sales team to say, oh, these deals are highlighted red. There's not been any activity on these. I probably want to do something to help progress the deal. So that's the initial sales pipeline. We can have multiple pipelines. We can use different pipelines for different sub-organizations, and we can even customize the deal view within Pipedrive, which is a new update that they launched recently. So now we've set up our sales pipeline, we'll want to put some data into Pipedrive. Pipedrive effectively is a CRM, which is a database, so we need to make sure we have lots of useful data within the platform. So looking at it now, it's quite empty. So there's a few ways that we can add data. We can manually create data in Pipedrive, we can import data via Excel or CSV file, or we can use third-party tools to migrate data from previous CRMs or other platforms. So I'll start now by just creating a deal manually. So to do that, I'm going to create deal, so select deal here, And there's a few bits of information that I need to put in. So I need to put in the contact person. Let's say Bill Gates in this case. So this is the person that we're selling to. The organization, that's the organization that we're selling into. And the deal title. So the deal title will be the opportunity that we are selling or hoping to sell. Now, by default, Pipedrive will just give it the organization name, but we might want to be a little bit more specific than that. So we might want to say Microsoft Management Consultancy. And the reason for being a bit more specific is we might have multiple deals associated with the same organization. So it just helps us be clear about what we're selling when we're looking at our pipeline. We want to put the value of the opportunity. We want to select the pipeline. So we might have multiple pipelines. So we select the one that we want. We can select the stage that we want that deal to be entered into. We want to select an expected close date. So in this case, let's say we expect to close in mid-July. We put in the person's phone number and their email address and save. And when I save that, that deal is going to appear here in the deal pipeline. Now, we can actually progress the deals through the stages by simply clicking, holding, and dragging the deal through the stage. And if I click into the deal card, you'll see some more information. So on the left-hand side, we have a summary of the deal information. So we have the deal value, £10,000. We have the expected close date. We have a link to the person and we have a link to the organization. And if I scroll down further, you can see here are the person details. So Bill, his phone number, his email address, first and last name, and the organization. So what this is showing is that actually this deal, it doesn't exist on its own. It's actually linked to the person that we're selling to and linked to the organization. So that actually is a very important thing to understand within Pipedrive. So within Pipedrive, there's a few main types of data. There are deals, there are organizations, and there are people. A deal must be associated with an organization or a person. An organization can be associated with multiple deals because you might have multiple different opportunities that you're selling to the same person or the same organization. And a person can also be related to multiple deals as you may be selling multiple products or multiple opportunities to the same person. So within Pipedrive, from a deal view, we can actually click straight into the person or the organization view. So I clicked into the person and you can see here that the person was created and the deal was created with the deal value. If I scroll down further, you can see this is the organization. And again, if I click into the organization, we can see the organization was created, the deal was created, and then this is the open deal. If I clicked on see all deals, if there are multiple opportunities, this would be a list of all the opportunities with that particular organization. It would show me open deals, open opportunities, and deals which have been won or deals that have been lost. So that's a real quick overview of the deals within Pipedrive. But like I say, it's very important to understand the structure and the linking of deals, organizations, and people within the CRM. So I wanted to touch on the types of data within Pipedrive in terms of the fields that we can have. So at the moment, I'm still on the organization, but I'm going to click to go back to the deal in the sales pipeline. And you can see here, we've got the summary information. So we have the deal value, the expected close date, the person and the organization it's associated with. But we might want some additional information. So for example, on people, we might want to send them a birthday card. So we might want a field for their birthday. So to do that, we can customize fields, add a custom field. Let's call it birthday. And then Pipedrive will give us lots of options in terms of the different types of field we can have. We can have text, we can have large text, single choice, multiple choice, monetary values, links to people or organizations within the CRM. But for this, we're going to choose a date because it's birthday, and we're going to have that on the person view. So if I click save, that will then appear here. Now this field here, now that we've added it to this person, this will actually appear throughout Pipedrive on every single person. And if we wanted to add their birthday, we could just simply add that in, and that will then be stored within Pipedrive, and we can segment and filter later in the CRM. Now, we also might want some information on the organization. So, for example, on the organization, we might want to know products sold. And for that, we might have multiple choice as the right option. So we say widget 1, widget 2, widget 3. and save. And now that will also appear on every organization within Pipedrive. And again, we can segment and sort by this information. Because this is multiple choice, I can select a few different options here. Now, one thing to note is always think about the type of data that you're putting these custom fields on. I see a lot of people put loads of custom fields and add them all to the deal or all to the person. And I see examples all the time where people will add birthday to the deal. But that means that actually the birthday is associated with the sales opportunity and not the person that you're selling it to. So that doesn't make sense. Or they might list the product sold again on the deal, but again, that should be something that's associated with the organization, so you can filter and segment later. So just a tip to really think about what type of information you want to collect and think about where you want that stored. So do you want it stored on the deal or the sales opportunity? Do you want it stored on the person, or do you want it stored on the organization? So now that we understand how deals work within Pipedrive, we might want to import some of our own data. A lot of people come to Pipedrive having just used Excel or Google Sheets before, so it's really important to be able to easily import that information into Pipedrive. So we can do that really easily from the import section within Pipedrive. So click the three dots on the left-hand side and go to import data. And then I'm just going to bring up an example Excel file here just to explain the data structure with imports. So you can see here that we have lots of information about different types of data all appearing on single rows. Now the way that Pipedrive will associate people and deals and organizations and activities to be related with each other is if they all appear on the same row within an Excel file. So for example here, if we look at Phyllis, we can see that Phyllis is going to be associated with Silicon Links. That's the address of the organization. This is her phone number and her email address. And a deal title, if we're creating a deal, the deal stage. We even here have currency, the value of the deal, notes, activities. So there's a huge amount of data here. Now, your data will probably be structured differently to this. So there are a few fields that are mandatory. So you're going to need to have the person name, first name, last name, and you're going to need to have a deal title if you're creating a deal. So to import this as an example, I would go to the import data and I would select from a spreadsheet and then upload file. And I'm going to look for Ultimate Pipedrive import. And then we are going to map the information from the column headers in the Excel file across to the fields in Pipedrive. So by default, Pipedrive will actually have a good go at mapping the information correctly. But it's always worth sense checking and running through this by yourself just to make sure that it is going to map all the data correctly. So we can see the first column in the Excel file. We don't need that, so let's remove that. And then let's check. So person name, name. And we can see here on the left-hand side, we've selected person. So these are all the fields related to a person. These are all the fields related to an organization. These are the fields related to a lead, to a deal, to an activity, to a note, or a product. So we have the different types of data within Pipedrive, and then we want to make sure that those fields are mapped correctly. So name, that looks correct. First name, last name looks correct. Name of the organization, address, phone, email for the person looks correct. Deal title, okay, so that's blank, so we're going to want to add that. So let's go to deal, and let's look for title. This symbol here, this indicates it's a lead title, and we're looking for a deal title. So we're going to take the deal title, drag that across, and then the deal stage. So we're going to map these across. So there are a couple stages here that we have on the Excel file that we don't actually have here within Pipedrive. So what we can do, we can either go back and add those stages to the sales pipeline, and they'll then appear here and we can drag them across, or we can determine that actually we want to move some of these across and put them in the stages that we already have. So anything that was demo scheduled, let's say that was going to be proposal made, anything that was qualified will go to prospect qualified. So let's save those. Currency, let's just click on that, that's fine. Deal value, again, that's fine. Deal status, so that would be whether the deal is open, lost, won, or deleted. It's mapped those correctly. Note content, so any content that on any notes that we want to appear on the deals or contacts. Due dates, so we get to select the date formats and the time format. The type is the type of activity, so is it a call, meeting, task, or deadline? And we can actually create our own custom activities within Pipedrive. And is the activity marked as done? So done, and in the spreadsheet we call it not done, but that is the same as to do. So let's drag that across. So once we have mapped all of these across and we're happy with that, we can then select next. And Pipedrive will then give us a preview of the data that's about to be imported. So again, just have a quick look of these. Okay, these look correct. And then just select import. And it's then going to start importing this data. Depending on how much data you have, this might take a while. Or if it's a smaller amount of data, it might be quite quick. It gives us a progress bar so we can see how quickly that's importing. And once it's imported, it will give us the outcome. So it will say it's been successful, or it will tell us that there have been some files that have been merged, or it will tell us that there's some files that have been skipped. So that looks okay, one was skipped. We can download a skip file. A skip file will just tell us if there are any errors with any imports. I suspect that that was because we had a column, a row here, which says delete this row, which we actually hadn't deleted, so we want to delete that. But let's just go back into the pipeline now, and now we can see these are all of the deals that we have just imported, along with any scheduled activities. So if I click into any of these deals, we can see here we've got an activity which is associated with it, we have the deal value, we have the contact person associated, we have the organization, we have the address. And just clicking through into a few more of these, again we can see the note that has been associated with it, along with the person, their details, and the organization details. Now, one thing to note is that this section here within a deal, this is effectively the chronological history of all the activity that's happened on that deal. So we can see here there's a note that's been pinned. There is also an activity that has been scheduled, but it's actually overdue, so we might want to mark that as done. And we can have lots of different activities here. So we might want to schedule an activity which is a meeting. So we'd say that's industries, meeting. We can select the date of that meeting and the time. And we can put any notes and we can save, and then that would appear here. So over time, this chronological history, it becomes really important because it gives you full context of everything that's happened on that deal. So you'll be able to see any notes that you've left. When you integrate your email, you'll see your email chain associated with this deal opportunity as well. You'll see any phone calls if you've integrated Pipedrive with a VoIP system. So when you go to the deal, you're going to have a full history and you're going to know exactly what's happening with that deal before you reach out to them again. These notes and this history, this also appears on the person. So if I click into the person view and into Sarah, anything associated with Sarah will appear on Sarah's history, and again with base industries, anything associated with base industries. And just to elaborate on this a little bit more, anything that appears on the organization will be everything. So that could be multiple deals, it could be multiple conversations with different people associated with that organization. In the person, it will be everything related to that person. So that person could have multiple deal conversations which are occurring on the history, and on the actual deal itself, that will just be everything that is related to that particular opportunity and that particular deal. So again, just how all of the data is linked within Pipedrive, it means that that's the view of the information you'll receive when you're looking at it within the CRM. Okay, so now we've got more data in Pipedrive. Our pipeline view is starting to look pretty healthy in terms of lots of deals in here. But now we have so much data, we might actually want to segment or view the data in a different way. So obviously this is our default sales pipeline. It's our kind of 30,000 foot view of each stage and where each deal is throughout our process. By default, Pipedrive gives us some standard information here. So the deal title, the organization title, the person we're selling to, and the deal value. And up until very recently, that was the only information we could see on this view. but we can now actually customize this view. So if we want to add more information or change the information that appears on any of these cards, we can go to Pipeline and we can go to Customize Deal Cards. And then you'll see here we can have up to 7 types of information on here. So if we wanted to add the custom field we created earlier for birthday, we could select person and then select the birthday field and save. And when we do that, that's going to update, and all of these deal cards are going to change their view. Now, you can see we've only added the birth date for the deal that we manually created here for Bill Gates, but now we can see that on the card itself. So we can get quite creative in terms of the type of content we have on the deal cards, and it's just a quality of life improvement that lots of people were asking for, and thankfully Pipedrive listened and implemented this feature. So this is the deal pipeline. We might also want to look at it on a list view. So we can go to list view, and this is basically going to show us it as if it was Excel. But from here we can change the columns that we want to have here. So we can have the number of email messages or the deal created or any other field within Pipedrive here as a column. And this is where filters become really useful. So throughout Pipedrive, we can use filters to show different types of information. So if I want to see deals which are over $40,000, for example, I can create a filter. So I can select everyone, filter, add new filter, and I can then build out different criteria within the filter view. So I'm going to add a condition that is the deal value is more than, let's say 40, 1, 2, 3, and save. And when I do that, it's going to remove everything from view which was under 40,000, and now just bring back that list. But I can get really, really granular with these filter views. So I could say, show me deal value, which is more than 40,000, where the organization location is San Francisco and the deal is owned by George on the team. So that allows you to get really, really granular. From here, you can bulk edit any information, you can send group emails, or you can bulk delete. So you have a lot of options and a lot of functionality here. And then from here, we can also see the forecast view. Now, the forecast view, really, really important when we're running a business. We want to see what we expect to win next month and the month after. So the way that the forecast view works is any deal in the sales pipeline, you should put the expected close date. So if I move this expected close date back to September and then save and then refresh, you can see that now the expected close date has moved to September. This also feeds into the forecast views in insights reports. So it's really important to make sure that we're putting in the expected close date, the percentage chance of winning, and the deal value, and that will all factor together into the insights reports and give us a really good forecasting view. So now we've looked at the different views available for the sales pipeline, I wanted to touch on the leads inbox. So I get asked all the time by people, what's the purpose of the leads inbox? How can I be using it most effectively? And the reason for that is a lot of people, before the leads inbox was a feature, would actually use the sales pipeline to store their leads. So what they would do is they would create a stage for prospects, and in here they would put a huge list of cold leads, so potential people that they were yet to reach out to, that they hadn't yet engaged. And whilst that worked in terms of the visual representation, very quickly it became very cluttered within the sales pipeline. It became difficult to manage, and it could also affect the insights reports in terms of pipeline value and other important statistics. So because of that, Pipedrive released the leads inbox. So if you go here to leads, you can see here we have some leads in here already. Now, leads are effectively mini deals. So the same fields that you have available for deals, if they're system fields or custom fields, will be available for the lead. And similarly, you have a history, a chronological history here, so you can schedule appointments and follow up. And the idea is that you will use the leads inbox to qualify, and at the point that you've spoken to or you've engaged the prospect, you would then convert it to a deal. When you convert it to a deal, you can add a few more bits of information. You can select the pipeline if you have different pipelines. You can add it to the stage automatically. and then you can click save, and that will then convert that lead into a deal. So typically with leads inbox, they might be leads which have come from web chat or web forms, they might be leads that you have sourced externally, but it's effectively a list of contacts which you're yet to reach out to, which is why they're not yet deals, because there's no level of intent there and no known opportunity at that point in stage. So I hope that clears up a few things around the leads inbox. Pipedrive was designed from the ground up as an activity-focused CRM. So it's designed by salespeople who understood and acknowledged that to progress deals through the sales process, you need to be thinking about the next thing. So what's the next thing that I need to do to this deal to progress it further, to progress it to the next stage? Do I need to have a meeting? Do I need to create a proposal and send a proposal? Do I need to send a contract? Do we need to negotiate? So within Pipedrive, from a deal pipeline view, you'll notice here from the imported data, we have lots of red chevrons. Those red chevrons are representing overdue activities. So if I click on a red chevron, you can see that there's an overdue call. Anything which has an exclamation mark means it's a deal with no activities associated with it, and it's alerting you to think, okay, we need to plan an activity, so we have the next thing to progress the deal. A grey chevron means that the activity is upcoming in the future, and a green chevron would represent an activity which is due today. So if I jump into any deal, you can see here that we have the activity, and when I mark that as done, Pipedrive is then going to pop up with the prompt to input the next activity. So what's the next thing we need to do? Well, maybe we need to have a call with base industry stakeholders. And that call is going to be next week, and I can put in the time, and I can add any notes and save, and then that activity then is going to appear on here. And if I go back to the overview, we can see then that we have the activity here with a grey chevron, meaning that it's upcoming. So there's a few ways that we can create and view activities. So we can create activities from here, from within a deal or within an organization or a person, and we can select the type of activity. So is it a phone call? Is it a meeting? Is it a task? We can also add additional custom activities just by going to the company settings and company settings and activities, and we can add them here, so we can create as many custom activities as we like. But going back to the deal view and into the deal itself, we can create them directly within the deal. So it's good to have this oversight here when looking at the pipeline view, but it's also really useful to be able to view that on the activities section. So we have a dedicated section here on the left hand side for activities. And you can view this on both list views and calendar views. So list view will show you everything in a list. Again, as with much of Pipedrive, we can add additional columns here because it's effectively showing us a spreadsheet. We can mark activities as done directly from here. And when we do that, again, Pipedrive is going to pop up with the prompts to input the next activity. We can look at overdue activities, which are red. We can look at activities which are to do, which are black, and we can click into any of the activities and it will give us the full details, so we can effectively work our way through this list of activities. So list views is really useful because you can effectively build up almost like a task list when you log in on the morning and you see, okay, these are the tasks that I need to complete today, and then you can literally just work your way through them, mark them as done as you go, and create the next activity. And we can also view the activities on the calendar view as well. So anything that's on the list view, if you select a time and date, that will also appear on the calendar view, which can be synced with your Outlook or Gmail calendar as well. So a couple of ways to view activities, but I really encourage you to use the activities within Pipedrive. It's such a useful tool for making sure that you stay on top of your deals and that things don't slip through the cracks. So now let's take a look at the Insights reports within Pipedrive. Insights reports is an incredibly powerful piece of functionality that allows you to build reports for almost any aspect of your business. So to view the insights, you go to Insights reports on the left hand side, and by default, Pipedrive will have created some standard reports which are pretty useful for most businesses, but you'll probably want to create your own reports or goals within Pipedrive as well. So to create a report, you click Add New Report, and let's create a report here for deals won over time. So let's go to continue, And just like we build out filter views within Pipedrive to view different information, is a very similar process within the insights reports. So the filter here is going to be not deal created, but deal won. So I'm going to look for one time is this year. And then I'm going to look for, in fact, I'm going to change the y-axis. So I'm going to say one time is this year. And at the moment it's showing us number of deals, but we might want to change that to deal value. And we could then segment that further. So if we had multiple people on our sales team, we could say that the owner is Dan or somebody else on the sales team. We could say that the product was a particular product once we've inputted the product into Pipedrive. So we can get really quite granular. We can build out these reports in more and more depth, more and more detail, but really, really useful. Another quick tip on the reports is you can build out reports for individual sales reps, for example, or for different time periods, but you actually don't need to do that. So at the top of the screen here, we have an option here for period, and you can select this month, last week, last month, last year, or a particular date range. And when you do that, all of the reports on the dashboard will actually update to reflect that time zone that you've inputted. Similarly, you can select the different user from the drop down here. So you can change it to be any team member. So rather than building out reports for every single sales rep, you can just build a single report, and then you can select the sales rep from the drop down, and those reports will update to reflect their particular details. So really, really powerful, saves you a lot of time in having to build separate reports for each and every person. Similarly to how you create the insights reports, we can create goals. So we could say we're going to create a goal which is based on 1 deals, and that is every month we need to bring in £30,000 of revenue. And we can have that as an ongoing monthly or a specific time period. And when we save that, it's going to build an insight report effectively, but it will give us the target and show us the difference, so how far over or under target we were. And again, you can build these out for individual sales reps. They can have them in their own dashboard. So a really good way of making sure that you're keeping on track. Another handy hint with the insights reports is you can actually create a web link. So if you go to share and share as a public link, you can create a link which effectively is a URL, and that URL is actually a link directly through to the insights reports, and you can share this URL with anybody, irrespective of whether they have a Pipedrive account or not. So I see a lot of people who have offices. They will stick this up on a big screen in the office. This refreshes every 30 seconds or so it can be a really good motivational tool. But it's great that you can share this with people who may not have their own Pipedrive account. So before we finish this video, I wanted to touch on one last really powerful feature within Pipedrive, and that's workflow automations. So if any of you are familiar with Zapier, where you have triggers and conditions and actions, workflow automations is very similar to that logic, but it all happens within Pipedrive itself. Pipedrive actually works really, really well with Zapier, and I use it for a huge number of consulting clients to integrate third-party tools and other automations. But workflow automations is great because it's all self-contained within Pipedrive itself, and obviously it doesn't use any Zap credits. So to create an automation, go to the 3 dots and automations, and Pipedrive has some automation templates or some workflow templates, or you can create your own. So let's start from scratch and create our own for the purposes of this demo. So I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to give the workflow name. So let's say deal lost more than 30 days, send follow-up email. So you'll take from that the automation wants to be that if a deal is lost, we want to wait 30 days and then send a follow-up email automatically. So I'm going to add a trigger, and that trigger is going to be that the deal status has changed. So I'm going to say deal updated, and the option here is status, deal status has changed to lost, and then apply that condition. I'm then going to add a delay step. So I'm going to delay for any of these preset options, or we can add our own. So let's set a custom duration. So let's say 30 days. And skip weekends because I don't want this email being sent on a weekend. And then we have the action. So we've got trigger, we've got condition, and then we've got a delay step, and then let's add the trigger. So the action is going to be send an email, and we're going to send an email using an email template. So send using template. Now here we select what we want this email to be linked to. So we want it linked to the deal, we want it linked to the organization of the person. Let's also use link tracking and email opening. So we're going to say, who is this email to? So we're going to send it to the deal contact person email. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but it means that when you create a deal within Pipedrive, the deal will be associated with the person, and this is that person's email address. So deal contact person email. The template, so from here we're going to choose a template email, and these are created, some of these are created by default within Pipedrive, but we can also create our own custom templates, and we can also mail merge those templates with custom fields from Pipedrive as well. So let's say opening channels again, the email template, so that's going to be associated with the deal, and it's going to be associated with the organization and the person. And then let's turn on link tracking and apply action. Let's make that triggered by any user, and let's make that active. So now what will happen is when any deal is marked as lost, so if I go into the sales pipeline, and if we lose this deal, we can give a lost reason. So say price too high, we can mark that as lost. We can also set our own lost reasons within Pipedrive as drop-down fields, and that's actually really useful to help us create insight reports on lost reasons, so we can see at a glance if we're losing to a certain competitor, or if we're losing because our price is too high, or for another alternative, and that can impact our future business decisions. So that's really useful to put that in. So now we've marked the deal as lost, the automation is going to wait 30 days, and in 30 days it's going to send a template email. So template email was opening channels again. So this email, we'll fill in some mail merged information, and that will be sent within 30 days automatically. So these insight reports, we can build them out, these automations, we can build them out for pretty much anything that we want to do within Pipedrive. We can literally automate entire sales processes, but when I'm consulting with clients, I always say that just because we can automate everything doesn't necessarily mean we should. So we need to be pragmatic with this. We need to think, what's the low-hanging fruit, what is the high volume, the low touch point, the things that we can automate, and then as we progress further through the sales pipeline, we probably want more one-on-one human interaction with that contact and with that prospect. So just be sensible with the automations, and don't think just because we can automate everything necessarily means we should. So this brings us to the end of the video. I've been inspired to make this because I've seen some other partners produce some really great content that I know adds value to people looking to use Pipedrive. I hope this video does the same. If you did take value from it, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. And if you have any questions or need any support with your Pipedrive implementation, please don't hesitate to get in touch at www.automated-sales.com. Thanks.